Good afternoon. This is a video update for following the Monday, March 9th council meeting. And I'm going to go over a few things just on the agenda, and then I'll touch on some other stuff that's happening around town and explain a few things. Couple of things were, the agenda was very, very short on Monday, but it wasn't a short meeting just because of the importance of some of these things. And the first one was the DRP Advocacy Committee that came, and Jim Ross and Tom Dutton came and just gave us an update on some of the recommendations that they're going to be sending over to the GOA, specifically in regards to the Hamptons and Sunshine areas. Number one is getting the rebuild rate up to a proper value so that these people can actually rebuild their homes properly, and the other one is to be able to offer air quality testing to everybody in those areas. Two extremely important things to get, especially the Hamptons, to get that area back up and going, and you know, there's people in there that are homes are cleaned, everything's great, but there's a stigma attached to the Hamptons right now, and so the more we can do to get homes rebuilt and get that development going again and getting that whole area healthy again, we'll continue to push for some of these things. And council agrees with the recommendations that these guys brought forward, and for primarily the reasons I just mentioned. And you know, it's a hard thing to deal with up in the Hamptons, because there's there's the homes that are being torn down, but there's also most of the homes are very healthy and people are living in them and carrying on with their life, and you'd never know anything happened in that neighborhood on some of the streets. So it's hard because there's such an extreme to the different circumstances that are in that neighborhood. Our priority, number one, has always been to get people back in their homes, and we will continue to push and do whatever it takes to get people back in their homes. There's only one way to get rid of the stigma, and there's only one way to get the value of that neighborhood, which is a very, very good neighborhood. There's only one way to get the value back up, and that's to get it rebuilt properly. So we will just continue to push and make that another great neighborhood of High River. And council agreed and sent a letter of support along with their recommendations up to Municipal Affairs Minister, the Premier, our MLA Danielle, and just to continue to pound the table on this DRP thing. I've said it 1,000 times, I can't thank this group enough. Councillor Masterman has worked tirelessly with hundreds and hundreds of emails that have come through on the DRP and through the DRP committee. Jim Ross, Tom Dutton, Bill Fowler, Deb Smith, and what this group has done. DRP is not great today. We've got a lot of work to do yet, but I can't even fathom the hell that we would be going through if it wasn't for this group of people working as hard as they have been for this community to get it as far and get it as good as it is right now. It's not only High River that has to thank these people, it's actually all of Alberta that has to thank these guys, because a number of their recommendations over the last year and 20 months now have resulted in provincial policy changes. So thank you, every one of you, for you don't ask for any recognition of this stuff, but you deserve every ounce of it. And so thank you very, very much for everything you're doing. Moving on through this, the PRAC Committee, Planning and Renewal Advisory Committee, and this is another group that have been working tirelessly again on primarily the downtown changes and what the O2 group has been doing. And Duncan Scott and Mike Nychuk came representing that group, just giving us an update and some of the recommendations that they see us implementing going forward with making High River the greatest place it can be, because this isn't limited to just downtown. That's the aggressive one. That's where all the construction has to happen right now, and those are the big changes that are happening. But a lot of this stuff, there's land use bylaw changes and parking bylaw changes that have to change. Now, in regards to developing and how we encourage and support business downtown, and there's a lot being said and rumors going around and a lot of discussion happening, which is great. I love it. With the ECDEV committee that's in place now, the ECDEV task force that's in place now, that's working their butts off to get that in line properly. But all these land use changes and these things, it goes back to how do we make it easier to do business in High River? And that's the primary number one way that town council can support small business, is by making it easy and reducing the red tape that it takes to get businesses up and running and continue to thrive in High River. And so some of the things that the PRAC committee brought to us were things like parking bylaws and, why do we have one? Because primarily, if you take a business like Carlson's downtown, our existing bylaw says that Carlson's has to have, I think it's upwards of 12 dedicated off-street parking spots for that facility, because they're a bit of a restaurant, bar, coffee bar, those kinds of things, and the bylaw says you have to have X number of parking spots off-street. That's absolutely impossible at that facility. So why even have a bylaw? The other part of it, it's being discussed about, well, if we can't do that, maybe there should be a cash in lieu program where the business pays the town for what they would require for parking, and then we go and build proper parking spots or parking lots, which is what our plan is anyways. When we're looking at that, the amount of money that it would generate, I got my issues as to whether it would generate enough money to really make a difference, or would it just make it harder again for that business to succeed. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. Again, with the land use bylaw changes, architectural controls that are need to be in place for downtown High River, need to be in place for everywhere in High River. I can speak to a number of the different things, and working alongside with Canadian Tire right now in the development that's going up there and bringing that in. I absolutely want Canadian Tire to come in, and everybody's excited to have them in here. Other hardware stores included, by the way. They don't mind the competition. Canadian Tire brings more people to town. Everybody benefits from it. That being said, going back to the design of that building, I do not want it to just be a square or rectangular Canadian Tire, basic standard issue, easy development. We got to raise the bar on these guys, and it takes us to make sure that we get a nice facility. There's going to be a Mark's Work warehouse and a Canadian Tire there, but let's make it look good. So I'm working directly alongside with Canadian Tire. They're very open to talking about this. They've been very good about it so far. And let's make it great. And that's going back to everything to do with this PRAC committee. They're looking at every aspect of High River and business development and land uses and architectural controls, parking requirements and bylaws and all these things. And it all goes back to the new mission that High River has put into place and council has agreed on. Our new mission statement is doing it better, being innovative, and daring to be different. We are wide open, and I'll tell you right now, bringing us stuff that is standard issue, blah, 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 plan one off of the rack is not acceptable in this town. The bar is raised. We want everything that everybody is doing to be to a great level. And that's the way our whole mission statement says, doing it better, being innovative, and daring to be different. Bring us your crazy stuff, because I love it and I want to hear about it. So that's enough of my propaganda on that one. Going forward, adoption of some minutes. The other one was the High River Community Cancer Center donation. This has been something that's been in the works for a couple of years now. The MD of Foothills kind of started this in a couple of years at the Rotary Banquet and challenged us to match their donation to the Cancer Center, which was $2.50 per person in the MD of Foothills. We wanted to do this, and I know previous council wanted to do it immediately as well, but some water got in the way for a little while, and we've had to be very careful as to how we're spending money. At the same time, this is extremely important for this whole community, so council passed the motion the other day to do a donation of $32,300 to the Community Cancer Clinic, which equates to the $2.50 per person in High River. So we were more than happy to be able to get that done this year, and I think they needed $75,000 to really kick that thing into gear. This gets them another halfway to that, so we're excited to see. And I know that the town of Turner Valley and Black Diamond, Okotoks, I know they're all looking at doing this. I think Turner Valley actually passed theirs last week as well, so we're well on their way. And Michael Brown and Kathy Cooey and Rhonda Buse over at the foundation there, this community, again, the whole Foothills community, can't thank you enough for the amount of work that you've put in to make sure that this project goes through, because it benefits absolutely everybody. So thank you very, very much for everything that you're doing. Going further, there's a couple of appointments to the Calgary Regional Partnership. Now that we are part of that partnership, we just appointed Councillor Moore as the board member to the CRP, and Councillor Blockland as Councillor Moore's alternate to that. So that's basically what happened in the council meeting the other day. And prior to, we had a committee of the whole meeting, or a CAO brief, and I'll touch on just a couple of things that we're working on right now. And all this goes back to making High River the greatest place on earth to live, work, and play. It's not a cliche, it's actual action that we're taking, and something that council looks at absolutely everything that we are doing now is A, the mission, and B, making High River the greatest place it can be. It's already a great town, but there's so many things that we can build on, the assets that we have now, and the pathways on the berms, expanding that, and the Happy Trails network, and George Lane Park. You'll see on my Facebook page and that the Rotary Club has donated $100,000 to redo the Centennial Stage within George Lane Park, and it's being put out to artists to give us their renditions of how this, renderings or whatever you want to call it, as to how they think this stage should look, because we don't want it just a stage. It can be artistic, and it can look incredible. So that's a very cool thing that's being worked on right now. Another one is the outdoor hockey rink in McLaughlin Meadows, and there's a proposal that was brought to us from Community Services that turns just the hockey rink, turns it into an outdoor use court, whether it be for this new pickleball that's in town. Has just overwhelmed me actually as to the popularity of this thing. But this could be an outdoor pickleball court, it can be outdoor tennis courts, it can be soccer, it can be just floor hockey, and then at the same time in the wintertime it can be flooded and iced, and still have our outdoor ice rink, as popular as that thing is over there. So these are all the kinds of things that we're working on. The other one that I will touch base on is the Wallace House, and everybody knows about the heritage value of that Wallace House downtown, and it's something that I'm passionate about. I want somehow to find a way to be able to preserve that house, and at the same time it does have to make sense financially. We cannot be the town of High River does not have $1 million just to be putting into this thing. but we do have enough money to be a partner in with it if that's the way to get this thing done. And Dave Moretta and Irene Kerr with the Museum of the Highwood, they're looking at how it might fit their expansion needs, and Kyle Jansen from the Heritage Advisory Committee with the town of High River has done amazing work of looking at other models of how these things are done in other communities to be able to get this done. It all goes back to with these heritage properties as to the amount of dollars we have available right now. I look at it a little bit further down the line. I look back at 5-10 years down the road, and looking back, did we do the right thing? Are we spending money today can be a huge investment for decades to come as to what's going on. So the other part of this is the MD has been excellent to work with, and it might not fit their needs. That being said, they're very open to anything that we have to bring to them as far as options that are on the table, as if we want to and we can save this home. So heritage buildings, they define your community. They really, really do. And a lot of people are just saying, well, run a D8 cap through it and so be it, whatever. I'm a little bit on the other side with it. I got a little bit of a soft spot for heritage properties, but I also know that it absolutely has to make financial sense. So we're still working on it. There's a lot to be done yet. The museum's doing great work with getting some heritage professionals in there to have a look at it over the next couple of days, and we'll give you more information as it comes available. But as for this town and what we are doing, and it goes from council, it goes all the way through our organization, it goes through to every citizen in this town. High River is an amazing place to live and work and play. It is going to be the greatest, and we will not quit pushing our mission statement of doing it better, being innovative, and daring to be different. There's much better ways of doing some of this stuff. We have huge assets. The template is sitting there. We just got to build on it, and we got to rock and roll with this thing, because this place is awesome, and we won't quit until it's the best it can be. Thank you very, very much. That's enough for me today, and enjoy the week. Wicked weather happening out there, and have a great weekend. Take care.